In July of 1969, the world changed. Science fiction became science fact as two human beings walked on another world. I was not around for this event, but I've grown up in the post-space race era, and I've grown up to think everything that happens in space is really cool. They're all these great dramatic events. The news media, they love it because it makes great news. Suddenly, they just keep talking about all the stuff that's going on in space, and they talk about how exciting it is and how dangerous it is. But I've been studying space operations, and I've learned that not everything is quite as dramatic as the news media makes it out to be. For starters, let's talk about this recent topic that's come up a lot, orbital debris. Well, the news media doesn't call it orbital debris because it's not catchy enough. They call it space junk. It's gotten so that every time an astronaut drops a wrench or a satellite goes a little wonky, the New York Post has to run a front page article saying there's all this space junk out there in space and we're not going to be able to fly our satellites anymore, and it's a big hazard for all the space shuttles and spacecraft that go up there. In fact, the news reporters have gotten so enamored with this idea of the International Space Station having to dodge out of control rockets on a daily basis like the Millennium Falcon flying through the asteroid field. I mean, it's gotten ridiculous, right? How much space junk is actually out there? And how dangerous is it? Well, according to Orbital Debris Quarterly, it's gotten so big, NASA has a journal about it. According to Orbital Debris Quarterly, there are 17,000 objects in space that are greater than 10 centimeters across. And all of these objects can actually be tracked. The United States Space Surveillance Network actually tracks all of these objects as long as they're bigger than 10 centimeters. 17,000 of them. By statistical analysis, they estimate that there are over 200,000 pieces of space debris between 1 centimeter and 10 centimeters across. And for objects smaller than 1 centimeter, they estimate that there may be tens of millions. That's a lot of stuff. But how dangerous is it? Well, let's imagine some of those smaller pieces. Okay, take something 1 centimeter in size. You're driving your car down the road. You hit a pebble. It's 1 centimeter in size. What happens? It chips your paint. It makes a little ding in your windshield you can barely see. The thing is that it only hit your car going at a relative speed of about 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. In space, it's not the size that kills you. It's the speed. Objects in low Earth orbit, they're orbiting the Earth at 36,000 kilometers per hour. If you hit that same pebble with your car going 36,000 kilometers an hour, that pebble would go straight through the windshield, straight through you, straight through your seat, straight through the floorboards, or it would cause the entire passenger compartment to implode due to the energy of the impact. So yeah, space debris is dangerous. But how much of it is out there? Well, the problem's gotten worse. You may have heard recently that back in February, 2 satellites collided with each other in space, that nobody knew it was going to happen. As a result of that collision, according to the United States Strategic Command, over 500 pieces of debris greater than 10 centimeters were created. And they estimate up to 150,000 pieces of smaller debris from that one collision. But back in 2007, the Chinese tested their anti-satellite missile capability by shooting down one of their own weather satellites. That collision produced 2,000 pieces of debris greater than 10 centimeters and may have produced hundreds of thousands of smaller pieces. All of those pieces will continue to orbit the Earth for the next 100 years. But again, I ask, is this a problem? Let's do some statistics using an analogy, okay? In Bucks County, PA, in 2008, there were 817 car crashes. Do you think people still drive in Bucks County, PA? In 2008, worldwide, there were 60 plane crashes. Still fly? Sure. In the 60-year history of the space program, every space program, there have been 3 satellite-on-satellite collisions, which means, statistically, an investment in space is actually safer and a better investment than an investment in automobiles or cars. I don't see what everybody's worried about. You see, I've learned something since I came to NPS. been studying space operations, and there's something we say over and over again. They don't call it space for nothing. Space is pretty darn big. I'll give you another analogy. Let's assume the worst case scenario. Let's say that all of the large pieces of debris are trucks, because some rockets are about the size of a truck. And let's say that all the medium-sized pieces of debris are refrigerators. And let's say all the small pieces of debris are marbles. That makes 17,000 trucks, 200,000 refrigerators, and say 10 million marbles orbiting the Earth. Now let's calculate what the total volume of all that stuff is. I'm not very adroit at doing math in public, so I've already done the math. 2.5 million cubic meters. It's a lot of stuff, right? But how big is space? Again, I've already done the math. Let's assume just the debris between the surface of the Earth and 1,000 kilometers altitude, which is where most of the low Earth orbiting debris is. Okay, we'll add to that the radius of the Earth, and we'll do 4/3 pi r cubed on that, and then we'll subtract the volume of the Earth from the middle, and you get 59 trillion cubic meters. 2.5 million is a lot. 59 trillion is a heck of a lot more. So the next time you see something on TV where they start to tell you that space is getting crowded, just remember that space is 0.0000004% full. They don't call it space for nothing. What have we learned today? Well, we've learned that the chances of two satellites hitting each other are probably about the same as the chances of me bumping into Nicole Kidman while I'm walking down the sidewalk. While either of those situations might thrill me, I don't lose any sleep over them at night. I think space exploration is going to go on for many, many more years, and the last thing we have to worry about is space junk. And